I thought the article about the Pananary, I'm saying that wrong, subculture was very interesting because it appeared to revolve mostly around men's fashion. And I think that in America, men's fashion is a strange topic because in many ways clothes are used to display masculinity, but is not something considered masculine to care about how you look. So I do think I think in America the concept is shifting where caring about brands and fashion is more okay, and is not considered like effeminate. I thought the trend was interesting because it follows how many trends seem to pop up through history as a defiance of the older generations. It reminded me of 90s American teen/young adult culture. Again, because of that defiance, as well as like the fashion styles, I thought seemed similar with the brighter clothes and the thicker layering jackets. And then the documentary. It was not what I was expecting. Many of the clips I don't think would be really permitted on American TV because of the way it displayed women's bodies. I don't think most Americans would consider that appropriate for television. And also, a lot of the comments made by primarily men were, I found, pretty disgusting. One man asked a woman from the audience where her boobs were, and if she had left them at home. I was shocked that that was a remark that was okay and that the audience laughed at it and clapped at it. From the documentary, it seemed that women's face and her breasts were really the most important things about her. There were numerous clips with women wearing low-cut shirts and moving and positioning themselves in ways that emphasized that part of their body. They also wore underwear that showed their butts in many ways that I don't think Americans would consider appropriate for typical mainstream TV. Also, the narrator talked a lot about plastic surgery and how so many women were using it to mask their face. There was one clip where the older women were criticizing a younger woman for her fake beauty. It made me think about like the socioeconomic impact that must have had for Italians. People on television typically have more money than the average person, so they have the money for plastic surgery and breast augmentation, etc. Working class women would not have this ability. So not only does television augment what women should look like, it also creates a gap in the economic status of women. I think similar with the Pananary subculture, to be able to wear those brands, the Rolex watch, Levi jeans, etc., that requires money. They talked about riding motorcycles and eating at the fast food restaurants and driving, an hour to the fast food restaurants because it was cool and popular. If you're a student, if you're working, if you don't have the money for gas, that's not really going to be something that's possible. So it furthers that divide. So I thought that was or something I guess I thought about when reading and watching these things. And then lastly, I think that like American media does portray women in a similar way, but maybe not as visually as we saw in the documentary. The idea of having women as a pretty face in the background is not necessarily uncommon. One example that I can think of is Wheel of Fortune, where the woman walks around to change the letters, but she doesn't really add much to the show other than being pretty. American TV doesn't show off women's bodies, but they talk a lot about them, specifically criticizing. A big problem right now, I think, is fat shaming and talking about women's bodies because they are fat or considered larger than what media would consider appropriate. And then again, like a lot of media likes to focus on female celebrities and either gaining weight, losing weight, starting new relationships, looking disheveled, looking beautiful. We talk a lot about the appearance of women and less about them as a person with feelings. And then lastly, one question, again, I think like that idea of the economic requirements for some of these trends is interesting. So I guess my question to the class is either had you considered this or what other impacts outside of fashion and popularity do you think that these trends had on both Italian people and American people?